Well, hello there, and welcome to another tank review. I'm Corny Swiss, and today we're looking at the 88mm truck thing. I don't know exactly what it's called, I don't speak German, but it's an 88mm Flak 37, word that starts with an S, Alf 18 ton, word that starts with a Z, ends in wagon. So that's what we're looking at. Rank 2 tank destroyer, 3.7 battle rating. Pretty sweet. So, let's get started. Bam. So like I said, this is an 88mm gun strapped to the top of a truck. That's essentially what it is. It says 18 ton, but that must not be the tons we have here because it's 25 tons. 203 horsepower, 2600 RPM, 40 miles per hour, 40 kilometers per hour rather. 40 miles per hour would be pretty good. Maximum inclination of 40 degrees. Yeah, it's kind of slow. I've never seen it get to 40. It's slow, it's fat, it's a half track, so it turns pretty well, but it can't turn in place, so you have to back up or go forward to turn, which is kind of sad, but it's a truck at the end of the day. Let's get past one thing. Armor, none. Has 14 millimeters at best. Actually, no, sorry. 60 millimeters, but that's the gun, and if they hit the gun, they probably killed some of your crew while they were at it. But this thing has just literally no armor. 10 millimeters there. I guess this engine is pretty well protected because it's got these strips of 10 millimeters here and 14.5 millimeters behind it. So I guess if someone's shooting you with a 50 cal, you might be safe, or else it'll penetrate anyway. So this thing is made of paper, and that's okay. So yeah, no armor. Don't worry about the armor. It has the advantage of having no armor is to sometimes an advantage because a shell will completely over-penetrate and not go off, which means you might only lose one module or maybe just one crew member rather than the entire thing. So that's a positive. But also AAA is going to absolutely chew you apart, which you'll see later. But AAA is this thing's bane. Now, the reason to play this thing is because it has an 88mm gun on the back. Right? 88mm gun, 810 meter per second muzzle velocity, that's pretty good. It only has two shells, an HE and then this AP CBC with 160 grams of TNT in it, which is pretty good. At 10 meters, 146 millimeters penetration, 128 at 500, and 100 at 2000. This thing will penetrate everything it sees, and it's an 88mm armor-piercing, exploding shell, which is like the dream at this battle rating, because it's got plenty of penetration for T-34s, plenty of penetration for Shermans, and anything under the sun that a 3.7 battle rating will see, this thing will penetrate, and it'll absolutely rip it apart. HE, never fired it because this does the job. There you go. I went straight for the firepower upgrades. I haven't done the mobility ones, which may be why it's so ridiculously slow, but I don't think it's going to be fast even when I do these. But these were critical. Minus 23% times 2 vertical weapon spread. That's pretty sweet. And then some horizontal spread adjustments. So that's pretty cool. This 88mm gun absolutely trashes people. This tank is like the machine is the ideal like second line artillery machine. Like you have your Panzer IIIs and your Panzer IVs in front, kind of taking a hit maybe, kind of keeping them at arm's length. And then this thing is behind them using cover and sniping them out and delivering the pain. Which, is great, but this thing is open top. You have 3 loaders and an aimer or a gunner. By the way, I forgot to mention, the other great thing about this gun, thanks to the 3 loaders, 5.8 second reload with a decent crew. To put it in perspective, M4 Sherman, 3.7 battle rating, same battle rating, an actual tank, has 6.1 second reload on a 75mm gun with nowhere near the penetration capabilities of this 88. So, this gun fires faster than Sherman's and hits a lot harder. So, that's pretty sweet. but it is open roof, and these 4 guys are pretty exposed. These 2 guys in here are still pretty exposed. The ammo's in these boxes kind of at the back, but people don't tend to shoot there for some reason. Maybe because it's not an obvious place to shoot. Like if I was looking at this thing and it was looking at me, I would aim for this gunner, knock out the gunner, and then pepper it with machine gun fire. I'm not really worried about this. I'm probably not going to set off its ammo rack to kill it. The armor's so little it may not even set off the shell. So something to keep in mind. But you chew this thing apart with machine gun fire. And you got the engine, and it's a half track, so the engine, transmission, fuel tank, all that stuff's in the front, radiator, and then all the business stuff's in the back, ammo and people to shoot the gun. Driver, commander, like I said, gunner, loader. So no machine guns on this thing, just an 88mm gun. And that's all it needs. This thing is pretty fun, just because this gun brings so much pain. But other than that, it's kind of garbage. But it takes that idea of, if I'm going to do one thing well, I'm going to be the best at it, to new heights. Because I think this is probably the best gun available. I mean, I would think so, at 3.7 battle rating, on probably one of the most subpar platforms, but overall pretty solid, because it is pretty big, and not particularly fast, not well armored, but the gun is amazing. So that's kind of all you need to know, right? Gun depression is a problem over the front and over the back, kind of. More so over the front. You basically can't tilt the gun down, but if you can tilt it out over the sides, it's plenty. It's more than 3 degrees, I think. It might only be 3 degrees, but I feel like it's more. The thing to do, and I'll demonstrate in the replay, is to kind of get on the side slope of a hill, so that way you can get even more gun depression, because you have 85 degrees of elevation. This gun almost points directly up. Whoa, Jesus. My phone went off. So, what was I saying? Yeah, so you can basically point this gun directly up, and so that means getting on the side of a hill is really good, because then you have unlimited gun depression, basically. Because you can still point the gun up, even though you're kind of slanted down. So, really important, really good thing to know. But yeah, quick overview. Armor sucks. It's not very fast, but the gun is amazing. Let's watch some replay, shall we? So here we are in a realistic battle, driving the 88mm Flak trucky thing, because I don't know what the technical terms are for this tank. But as you can see, I have glorious German engineering in front of me. I have a Panzer III of some description and what looks like a Panzer IV. So that's pretty good. They're out in front of me, so it's unlikely I'm going to take the first shot in an engagement. A swarm of AI have spawned, so that's a little annoying, but those won't be a problem for me. The big thing about this machine is that the thing I don't like about it is that it is very slow. And at times it's difficult to get the gun down, just because you need to be thinking about, okay, I don't have very much depression over the front. Maybe the front, probably 90 degrees of this machine, you really only have straight on ability. If you cannot dip the barrel down at all, which is a problem. And I'm curious, I wonder if there's machines that are short enough to run up alongside this thing, because it doesn't have great gun depression, but it does have that open side, and I don't think there's ever a reason why you would need to run alongside this thing, because it's not like, you can't penetrate it with whatever you have. Blasted a T-50 there. I mean, T-50 is so small, if you hit it with one of these shells, it's kind of going to blow up. So that was good to get him. That could have been a problem if he was running around on the side. But this is kind of the role I'm trying to play. I want my allies to go ahead of me, and I want to have them identify the targets, and then I want to clean them up. Just because I'm not confident in... Like, if they see me and they shoot at me, I'm going to take damage, which is obviously to be avoided. Now, on this map, I can't remember the name of the map, Carpathians, good idea to take C. because if you take C, like the person in chat kind of said, if you take C you can hold that high ground, you really can control the map. A becomes very indefensible if the opponent holds C, and B, you know, yeah, it's way off there. You can kind of take pot shots over there and provide a lot of supporting fire from C, but you know, you only need 2 to win. So holding C and then having complete control over A, pretty important. So if you can get a guy in to cap it, you should be able to maintain control. Now, I wasn't sure if that AI or whatever was alive, so I put a shot into it. Now it's burning. I know it's not alive, which is pretty sweet. But yeah, I don't know if I discussed it in the layout part, because I was going quick because there really isn't a ton to talk about with this machine. What you see is what you get. It's a truck with an 88 on the back, bunch of crewmen back there, loading her up and sending the pain. So that's really all it is. But those boxes on the back of near the tailgate of this half track are, that's where the ammo is. And a lot of people haven't been shooting me there. They most of the time shoot through the gun shield, which is fair. That's kind of what I would do. I think of it more as I want to disable this machine, so it can't return fire because it's likely going to beat my reload. So I want my first shot to disable it so that I can very easily get the next shot off. Now, I'm expecting enemy tanks over there, and lo and behold, there it is. Looks like some type of rocket-bearing tank, and I actually start taking rocket fire here. But we get the next shell in, and there's a Sherman over there who's taking pot shots at me. His first shot hit my the lower part of my tracks, and then went and just went clean through. He's spraying me down with machine guns, but not at this range. I'm probably pretty safe. Ally took care of that guy. That's pretty good. Now, I do want to try and get more shots on that Sherman, so I'm going to kind of finagle my way around. Oh, there he is. Line up the shot, let him run into it. I mean, 88mm in the front of a Sherman. He has 0 chance of surviving that. He was doomed right there. He was just doomed. Wasn't much you could do. Now I'm in a pretty strong position here. This is kind of ideal. Not much they can do. They really can't hurt me. We have enemy tanks that are a higher priority for them to shoot out in the plane, and I'm in a solid position where I have lots of soft, like, concealable in front of me, so I can kind of like move around and be kind of sneaky. But I also have this little hill I'm kind of backed up on, or that's to my right, that's helping me get gun depression. So this is really I think an ideal position. I have plenty of gun depression because I'm kind of rocked on the side of a hill, and I have tanks in front of me. This is pretty sweet. It's also kind of boring because there are no enemy tanks to shoot, where the enemy are pretty dead, and we're gonna win. It's just gonna happen. I mean, we have all 3 zones. You know, the only reason we lost so many tickets is we didn't cap any zones, and then we took C and took the rest of them, but they also did that silly capture D, and the other team loses 1 million tickets, which I think is kind of silly. But I mean, like, why would you make an objective that kind of randomly rewards you for holding a zone? I feel like it shortens games and makes it harder. But, you know, also, I mean, if we had capped it, we would have won by now. So, you know, touche. I'm just looking for easy shots. I'm not going to find any. So, advantages of a front-wheeled vehicle. Turning is really easy, but you can't turn in place, which is kind of sad because the tracks aren't the drive train anymore. In a tank, your tracks can move independently, and they can be the drivetrain and kind of spin you around in place, which is pretty sweet. But in a wheeled vehicle, that is not the case. You cannot do that. There's a Sherman out there. I'm waiting for him to fire so I can shoot. My first shell goes low. But he did knock that guy out, and he's going to start moving, which is going to make it really easy for me to get the next shot in. And like I said, front of a Sherman meeting an 88mm shell, the guy's pretty toast. Not much you can do about that. Taking a shot at that T-34, making sure it's dead. So, yeah, we've kind of just run them over. And did I play a huge part in that? No. But what this hopefully showed you is that this is kind of what this machine is really good at, is being that second line of artillery. You know, we have let's say you run face first into a KV-1 as like I don't know, some variation of Panzer, and it's angled and you're having trouble. Best thing to do is, I mean, if you have one of these guys, one of these like flak trucks behind you, and they can put a shot onto that KV-1, it's going to cause some serious problems. So it's very effective at being that secondary attack line or defense line where you don't want this thing out front taking the hits, but you know, if it can maintain a line of fire, then you can lay the hurt and really cause some problems. I'm going to try and use it as a AAA vehicle, which it's obviously not meant for, but it just has so much gun elevation that you might as well. I think it'd be interesting if you could do like indirect fire with this thing. I mean, the caliber's not big enough, but if it had a shell with a low enough muzzle velocity and maybe more HE filled, you could, like a really low muzzle velocity, like I'm talking like tremendously low, you could try like a SU-152 type strategy where you almost indirect fire people from over a hill. Like, I've done that with success before. You generally know where they are and you just start sending shells until something hits. And then you try to dial it in. But obviously not the most effective, but pretty fun nonetheless when you hit someone from the other side of a hill. But you can't do that in this. The gun has too much muzzle velocity, which is never a bad thing. I'm down for too much muzzle velocity. But that guy's in a plane. It's basically going to be it. I think he's going to spawn one more tank and we're going to knock him out, and it's not going to be a big deal. So with all this being said, I hope this replay kind of showed what the ideal scenario for this tank is. Being a second line and just pounding people into the dust. Staying away from cap zones, but keep maintaining a line of fire into said cap zone so that you can push people out and drive them away just by, you know, force of fire. The replay I posted the other day would have been one of these in the background would have been ideal because we would have just crushed them, even though we crushed them anyway. But let's move on to the next replay, shall we? So here we are on the second realistic battle replay, part 2 of 2. Myself and another flak bussy thing are coming around the corner on Ash River or Ash Valley, whatever map this is. Now, this is an example of a time when this tank is pretty fun. So the enemy have not devoted many resources to the southern ridge, which I find to be a travesty. On this map, I think the southern ridge is of the utmost importance, and you should fight to hold it at all costs. Now, you would be correct in stating that, but wait, this is a 3 capture point domination map. You have to hold at least 2 of the 3, and my response would be, if you hold A, you can hold B, and kind of, you know, screw C. Like, who cares about C? Let's get A and B. Assuming southern ridge and middle part, not C. C cannot affect the battle. The reason I don't like C is if you go down to C, you cannot affect the rest of the battle in almost any way. You have to drive all the way out, and then you might be able to shoot at the middle cap, B. Whereas if you're at A, you can shoot at B. If you're at B, you can't necessarily shoot at A or C. So only one of the caps offers multiple targets, I guess. You can defend A, and you can also shoot at B. Nailing a sneaky Churchill 7. Oh, I took a hit. Notice how I only lost 1 crew member. Happens to be my gunner, which is sad. But we're just going to pop one of those loaders over there. And I think he's going to become my gunner. So we're... Oh, no, I lost my one of my driver guys down there. Now, I see this bastard. He's already dead, but I shot anyway. And I didn't quite know yet how few resources were over here for the enemy. But there's not many. And me and this flak truck are basically driving through free country. I'm driving up over here to make sure that we're safe. And then my mission is to cap A, try and defend it, and snipe down to B. Because if we hold A and B, we'll be fine. And that's the goal, to be fine. They've taken B and C, and if they're out in the open, we can cause some serious problems. I've since decided that we have tank destroyers on that ridge over there that have no intention of moving up. So hopefully they can do their job and keep me and this other flak truck safe while we hammer away. And I mean, ideally these positions will be switched. Us flak trucks would be up there. They would be down here because they actually have this thing called armor. And they don't have a slow platform where the gun doesn't traverse particularly fast and it has no gun depression. And we have to come all the way over that little, high to get to the enemy. If they don't come down into slow ground, we have to drive all the way up on the high ground, full broadside, just to make sure we have the gun depression, and that's a little debatable. Tank destroyer has a better time of it, and we have more powerful guns. So, like, come on, get out of here. But I'm going to try and line up for a shot to knock this guy out, but I think he's getting taken care of. But I am worried about it because it is AAA. And AAA is the bane of this thing's existence. So I'm just watching. This guy's coming around too. I'm watching to see if we can't... I thought I see that guy. Yep, got it. Put a shell into his side of his tank, but he's doing the right thing and kind of backing out into it. Now, I think me and this flak truck have the same idea. We're going to cap A and then just hold on to it. We both would like to shoot down to B, because if we can shoot at B, we can really affect the battle and cause some serious problems. But we do also need to defend ourselves. So I'm waiting for that guy to fire. I got allies firing. I'm waiting for him to fire. Then I'm going to scoot out over here, try and drop the gun onto him, and let him have it. He's already dead. That's sad. Would have been better if he wasn't. But that's kind of how we have to defend this here, where not much we can do. Like, I can't actively, like, I don't really want to push out of here. If I was in, like, a normal turreted tank, I would think about pushing kind of out and up to their spawn to really control it. Now, there's a KV-2 down there. That shot probably went low. I'm trying to position myself to shoot at this KV-2. There he goes. Ugh. It bounced off the roof of his tank, or the roof of his engine deck. But, you know, second time's a charm. That guy was never going to survive. So a KV-2 bites the dust. And that's what this tank is really useful for right here. They don't stand a chance. Now this flak truck has reversed out over to there. There's an enemy there. I'm going to wait for him to fire. He did, so I'm going to start scooting. Get up here, boys. He takes a hit to the front. I put a shell through his front, and he's knocked out. And I'm going to scoot right back. Oh, no, never mind. There's an enemy tank. Now it's some Cromwell of some make and model. I take a hit from him. He's backing up, but he's very slow. And shell right through the front of his tank. Cuts him open like butter. Or, well, cuts through him like butter. Like a knife through butter. Hot one. So, my friend in the flak truck is moving up. Debatable. There's guys on that ridge, but I really want to keep supporting over here. We hold B, so if we have B, we're pushing on C. If we hold B, we're probably going to win. They aren't putting a huge fight up trying to take A, but they start dropping artillery on me. I'm not a big fan of that. Enemy tank running across there, but I cannot get the gun depression to shoot at him. We have some other tanks there, so not really going to be an issue. I'm in a good position now to cover the bridge. Still don't have quite enough gun depression. Going to need to like back up a little bit. There we go. That's what we needed. I know there's tanks down there. I just can't see them because I'm not very good. But I am going to get antsy and decide that I need to defend A, because if we defend A, we're going to win. Me shooting at B isn't going to make much of a difference because we have enough tanks there to cover it. And same thing at C. It's all covered. We're good. And I know there are people shooting at us over here. But I was feeling a little confident, maybe a little too confident. Happens to the best of us, or the worst of us in my case. Okay, enemy shot fired. Okay, I got that. So I was originally going to come out and shoot that thing, but then I saw that little tank there, and I had no idea what it was. I thought it was some like little T-26. I was like, okay, I'm going to wreck this thing. And then bam! I didn't realize it was an armored car, and it chewed me apart. Like, look at this. This shell penetrated literally every part of this tank. Killed everybody. That was going to happen. No way to avoid it. So, anyway, the risk you run. But let's move on to the opinion, shall we? All right, so opinion time. What do I think of this 88mm Flak truck? I really like it. I think it's pretty fun. It's kind of a niche thing, but the gun is so amazing that it'll absolutely crush everybody. Very vulnerable to return fire from machine guns and AAA, less so from tank shells, because it has so little armor that it's not liable to actually be seriously damaged just on one hit unless they get a good hit. It's not like a Sherman where if they penetrate you from the front, you're going to take a lot of damage because that shell's are going to explode inside. If you penetrate this thing from the front, it might just go all the way through. Or if it's broadside to you, it'll just go clean through and only hit whatever it happens to hit on its trajectory, not explode and cause serious problems. So, but obviously very vulnerable to HE because it's open top, so that's a problem. But it's really fun, and it's a 3.7 battle rating. I feel like that's going to change because the gun is so powerful. I wouldn't be surprised this thing getting moved up a little bit in BR, which would be sad, but that's okay. It'll sort itself out. So anyways, I want to thank you guys for watching. I encourage you to recommend other tanks to review. I'm working on trying to get a missile touting tank, like currently I think I'm working on the Sheridan, but maybe that Russian one, or if I keep grinding down this German tank destroyer line, then eventually I'll get to the German ones, but not there yet, obviously. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'm Corny Swiss, and I'll see you next time.